For 7 long years, the people of Israel lived in fear. Every harvest season, the Midianites swept across the land like a swarm of locusts. They stole the crops and livestock. The land was stripped bare. Families hid in caves carved into the mountains. Among them was a man named Gideon. He was not a mighty warrior. He was not a famous leader. He hid from the enemy so they would not steal the little food his family had left. Then something extraordinary happened. The angel of the Lord appeared before Gideon. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon questioned why Israel had suffered. "I will be with you." Gideon's fear begins to turn into faith. God's calling changes everything. That very night, Gideon obeyed. The Asherah pole was cut down. Morning came. The town was outraged. God protected Gideon. Soon the Midianites gathered again. The enemy covered the land. Gideon called Israel together. 32,000 men answered. The battle was approaching. Israel waited. God's plan was about to unfold. 32,000 men gathered beneath Gideon. It seemed like a mighty army. But God said, "You have too many men. If Israel wins, they will boast that they saved themselves." God instructed Gideon to send every fearful man home. 22,000 men turned and walked away. Only 10,000 remained. But God said again, "There are still too many." God brought the men to the water. The moment of testing had arrived. That night, the Lord gave Gideon one final encouragement. Gideon quietly entered the edge of the enemy camp. One soldier described a strange dream. "This can only be Gideon. God has given Midian into his hand." Hearing those words, Gideon bowed in worship. Gideon divided the 300 men into companies. Each man carried a trumpet, a clay jar, and a hidden torch. The 300 surrounded the enemy camp. At Gideon's signal, the trumpets sounded, and the jars shattered. A sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Confusion swept through the Midianite camp. The enemy turned on one another. God gave Israel a miraculous victory. The Midianites fled. Israel was delivered. The story of Gideon reminds us that God often works in ways that seem impossible. He delights in using ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. When we trust God's strength instead of our own, the God who gave victory through 300 faithful men still calls his people today. "I will be with you."